I'll stop at the rostrum. Thank you again. The end of Act 2 with another great witness, Arnaud Poissonnier, founder of Babyloan.org.
Arnaud Poissonnier, voilà, qui arrive avec un chèque. Merci. Voilà. Bonjour Arnaud.
Bonjour.
Merci de votre patience.
Hi, here you are with your huge check. Thanks for your patience anyway. So, what did you bring along? Oh, nothing much. So, you created Babyloan.org. A couple of words about it. What is your core business? I didn't understand everything the two guys before were saying. I tried to listen. Sorry. But I'm Arnaud Poissonnier. I founded Babyloan, a crowdfunding website. Who's familiar with it? Oh, awesome. First of all, I'm really happy to be here. And then I thought, how can I thank the forum for inviting me? I thought maybe I could bring a huge box of chocolates, but not everyone would have had them. And then I thought, why don't I give the forum a check of $200 billion? So there you are, a check for $200 billion. Let's put it here. In fact, $200 billion is the collection potential for crowdfunding in future through microcredit. In fact, you know how crowdfunding works. You hear all these platforms all over the place. There are probably about 6,000 worldwide, 3,000 in China. About 10 new ones appear every day. And these project funding platforms bring together web users who have money and who want to make their money meaningful and who use these participative platforms to fund projects near home or elsewhere. Some of them work with donations, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and so on. Some make loans, Babyloan, but also others. There's equity, where in a couple of clicks you can buy shares in a startup. This is emerging very quickly, and since it appeared around 10 years ago, it has collected, according to some estimates, around $50 billion. By the end of 2017, it will probably be around 100 billion cumulative. It's an industry which basically is doubling in size every year. So things are moving fast. So, of course, it's not huge. It's about a third of what's on the balance sheet of a big French bank. But what is more surprising is the growth speed. By 2020, we're talking about $1,000 billion. $1 trillion. So around $1 trillion. And then we have this funding instrument for projects that's becoming very powerful, very important. First point. Second point, hence my $200 billion check. When you observe, when you look at the projects that are funded by crowdfunding, about 20% of them are projects based on solidarity, on the social impact, on the positive economy. If you look at France, Babyloan is a microcredit platform. Just us, with 100 platforms in France, we funded 25% of all projects funded by all French crowdfunding platforms. Families in shanty towns, in third world countries, but also in France. We just got closer with the number 2 to become even stronger, even bigger, with the European leader of microcredit crowdfunding. But beyond what we've been doing at Babyloan in the past 8 years, in France, there are a whole lot of crowdfunding websites which are funding the positive economy. QO Co-op or Mimo, who fund renewables, or Bluebiz that funds agriculture. in developing countries, equity funding for social projects, for innovation. There's a whole lot of platforms that are emerging in the field of the positive economy. Why so? In crowdfunding, what crowdfunding has achieved, couldn't quite understand what they're saying before, crowdfunding actually managed to reverse the traditional theory of finance. The guys who were there just before, who said, in regular finance, even if it's trying to look a little more positive, what happens is that the behavior of the person who has savings is to find a tool or a product in which their priority will be to have an ROI, return on investment, with a more or less acceptable level of risk. In traditional finance, the key is the return on investments before the meaning of the investment. And historically, that's the way traditional finance works. And in fact, crowdfunding reversed the entire rationale, because a huge number of crowdfunding websites, those in the positive economy, are websites where the contributors, you and me, we all are not looking for a return on investment, but they're trying to give a meaning to their investment. Who's already been involved in a crowdfunding campaign? Wow, quite a number. Who wants to fund an impact project, a social project, when they go there? Many fingers. For both groups. So crowdfunding reversed the entire logic of traditional finance in a process where people want to give meaning before obtaining an ROI. I was in a conference in Germany about crowdfunding, and where it's the most developed in Germany, it's in the equity, where you can buy equity in a startup or something. And in Germany, that was the biggest thing 3 years ago, and there are about 30 crowdfunding platforms. And they conducted a survey of investors, and 80% of investors had not even looked at the business plan of the companies in which they were investing. Is that the way a classic investor behaves? No. These are people who come to a crowdfunding platform and who just want to place their trust in an investor or in a project. And all the more so if it's meaningful. So when the contributor is trying to create meaning for his investments, of course, the best positioned sector is that of the positive economy. What we call the crowd impacting today. Dedicated to impact investments. A few months back, I was in a forum where I met Ronald Cohen. You know who Ronald Cohen is? He's a great master of English impact investing. So I say, we created Babyloan. It's a crowd impacting tool. I think it's the greatest pride. And he said, Ronald Cohen looked at me and he says, oh, wow. It's the first time a Frenchman teaches me a word in English. And in fact, crowd impacting is a word that appeared in France, the use of crowdfunding to fund impact projects. And that is a key trend that is on the rise at the moment, and that should allow us perhaps to find $200 billion to fund the positive economy, which is what we're all talking about here today. So it's something very interesting to consider that funding the positive economy tomorrow will not be the banks. It'll be us. It'll be the crowd. It'll be empowered citizens who are going to use highly effective digital applications to obtain funding for the positive economy. So say that you are all committed to use digital for crowdfunding. And I'd just like to give a nod to the efforts that traditional financing have been deploying to fund impact, social investments and so on, through something called solidarity financing. Those products developed by the banks to fund the social economy and so on. Today, the French have 4 4.5 trillion euros of savings. This solidarity finance has only managed to attract 10 billion of these euros over a period of 30 years, meaning all of these fair investments generate about 300 million euros in social projects. Great. And they want to do much more in regular banks. It's 0.2% of investments in France. And in terms of money allocated, in effect, it's 0.01% of French savings. And over the past 10 years that crowdfunding emerged, almost $1 trillion, 20% goes to impact projects. Something's wrong, right? Funding the positive economy tomorrow is there, it's not elsewhere. And it's all together that we're going to do it, because obviously you're all going to be contributing rather than being investors on platforms that deliver classic financial products. So welcome to this world. The bank of the positive economy is crowdfunding, and it's all together that we'll do it. Thank you very much, Arnaud Poissonnier, for this conclusion of Act 2 with the diversity of the benefits of positive finance. We talked about markets, microcredits, and crowdfunding. Thanks for your attention. After Act 2, of course, comes Act 3. And